Welcome. Episode 2. 3. 3. Boy, the time's flying. Ernie, my co-host, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing well, Jason. I like this sort of like earlier morning version for our third episode. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
I'm okay. We're still in lockdown, but we had to move the time due to a pretty big event happening today. Jay Bear is doing an exclusive webinar, and you can still reserve your spot. Look at that. You can still get your spot. Reserve your ticket. It's free. It's happening at 5 p.m. today. But we'll be back to our normal scheduled programming next week. I'm super excited about today. We have a great show in store for you. I got some new pants today, which is exciting.
That's very exciting
because these Adidas track pants forever, because no one ever so like I have like a nice shirt on top, and and then I walk out and it's completely different. But anyway, so I got some pretty cool pants. I got my Ozzy Osbourne shirt, showed up 1982.
Nice.
And so I'm feeling good today.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
By the way, I did. My wife is working in the next office over, the next room over, and I did run past her and say, "Hey, you think the Ozzy Osbourne shirt from 1982 is too much for today?" And she goes, "You do you." And it made me think of the age-old conversation of dress for success or whatever like that. And I think that went out the door years ago, but with COVID, it certainly went out the door.
Yeah, and it's definitely not. I don't know if it just went further out the door. Maybe it went around the block or something. It's just further away than it even was previous.
But there's always these conversations I get caught up on Twitter and LinkedIn where it's like, you have to dress for the job you want, and that's not necessarily the case. In my case, even when I started at Marketo years ago, I used to come in and it was all buttoned up, and I had J. Crew on, and not really my thing. But the more I got comfortable, I started to loosen up and sort of dress like myself. And like, let me tell you this: don't ask me to bring my authentic self to work unless you mean it, because this is it, right? And so, but there was something about the more I was relaxed, the more I was being myself, the more I was becoming successful at Marketo. And ever since then, I kind of throw that at the door, that conversation. But also, I do want to caution. I mean, there's different nuances for different verticals and different jobs, of course. But in marketing, dress how you want. Have a good time.
I actually had a strange moment in my closet the other day where I have all of my like dress shirts and more like what I would wear to the office when we were still going into the office in one section. And I kind of stood there and realized that I hadn't touched any of them in almost a year. And it was like a very strange moment that half of my wardrobe was just kind of sitting there unused for almost an entire calendar year. And I was like, maybe I should do something about that. But yeah.
There's something there. But hey, let's dive in. Before I do want to set this up properly. We got one quick segment before we get to our guest today. It's the first time we've had a customer on the show, and I'll tell you about her in a second. I think she's quite a smart digital marketer, and I'll tell you about how I found her and the coincidence that happened after that. But let's jump into what time it is, Ernie. It's time for cool things. Cool things of the week. Working title. We don't have an intro for the show. I forgot to mention that as well, because the show is still coming together, right? But it's live, so who really cares? We're doing our best here, folks. It will evolve over time and get more sophisticated. I promise you. I found like 3 cool things this week. I'm going to pick one because I really want to get to the guest today. The one that I found was somebody posted in a meme, and I always save these to Facebook. And then I kind of decide which one I want to go with. And someone posted this thing. It's a little bit old. I can't believe I missed this. Called "Why 5 Guys Always Gives You So Many Extra Fries." Do you know the answer to this? Do you know this tale of lore?
It's not a question that I ask very often, but it's something that I'm sort of just like happy to receive. But I would love to know now.
So it turns out that they throw an extra scoop of fries in the bottom of the bag so that you feel like you get more. And I thought that's creating wow. That is a perfect example of creating wow. And to go further, they have this crazy strict way of cooking the fries, where they only use potatoes grown in Idaho above the 42nd parallel to ensure that they have the right texture and flavor. Right? Mind blown. And once the spuds are fried, they're shaken exactly 15 times, no more, no less, before being served. So
they're serious about French fries. I like Five Guys. That's amazing. I like that the extra scoop in the bottom just makes you feel kind of special, makes the customer a hero a little bit. You walk away with that bag and you're kind of like, ooh, I'm ready to take on the world. I got an extra scoop of fries. That's amazing.
I mean, they're already large fries anyway. But take it a step further. This is from the article I was reading. It says, if you've ever been to a Five Guys, then you know, regardless of what size you order, there's always a topper, blah, blah, blah. According to Reader's Digest, the founder of the restaurant, Jerry Morel, said, quote, it's better for customers to feel that their serving of fries was too large. He even told Food Republic, people complain that they get too many fries. I just tell them to make hash browns with the leftovers. I teach my managers that if people aren't complaining, then you aren't giving them enough.
That's a quote right there.
Anyway,
wow.
There's like so many stories from Five Guys. I think there's actually a book, but that's my cool thing of the week. Ernie, what do you got?
I mean, speaking of Idaho potatoes, the cool thing of the week that I have is also coming out of Idaho, or at least from the Boise Weekly, IdahoPress.com, which was just an announcement that Bob Dylan is releasing a new album. And I put album in air quotes because it's 74 previously unreleased tracks, which is a little bit more than an album usually. But it was just kind of interesting, in the spirit of marketing and even to that hash browns with the extra fries point, repurposing old content, taking it, reusing it, moving it forward. I was interested to read that because of copyright law, after 50 years, content goes into the public domain. And so Bob Dylan is, I guess, releasing some of this content as it's approaching that threshold, just so that he can maintain the ownership over the rights to it. So it's good for us, right? We get 74 previously unreleased Bob Dylan tracks, and 9 of which I guess are recorded with George Harrison from the Beatles, which I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, I saw that. I thought that was pretty cool. Ernie, even Bob Dylan's releasing new music this year.
You're an old soul, my friend. Back in my music business days, I worked on the marketing for several Bob Dylan releases. The first question that comes to mind is does the world in fact need 74 more Bob Dylan songs? That's neither here nor there. But I will tell you a little fun story. We did the I remember when we got the Christmas album. It was Bob Dylan's Christmas album, and I remember they sent us advanced copies of this, and we were sending it out to press. And my favorite quote came back. I think it was from NME or somebody, and they said, Bob Dylan's Christmas album, the most anticipated Christmas album you only want to hear once.
It sounds about right. The idea of Bob Dylan releasing a Christmas album, we have an inside joke in my house where we take popular Christmas carols and we sing them in the style of Bob Dylan. It's a good time. So if you're ever, looking for something to do during the holiday season, that's a good way to kill a few minutes.
It sounds like it. Bob Dylan, certainly a national treasure. Whatever happened to the Wallflowers, by the way? I used to dig them, but that's another conversation. So
they're still driving home with one headlight, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so I'm super excited to bring in our first guest and only guest today. But I was, as I'm always looking for interesting things, and there was another Twitter thread around this where, as a marketer, you can't turn off your sort of spidey sense of marketing, of like when you see something cool and it gives you that marketing tingle. I can't believe I just said that. You want to dive into it and see more, right? Because I think there's so many ads out there that just are a bit lazy, and the copywriting isn't quite up to par, and the image doesn't match. Anyway, so this one image caught me. It was an ad. I clicked on it. Noticed there was a bunch of comments, and this person actually responded to each of them with really good, authentic, transparent answers. And I thought it was cool. So I bought the product, loved the product, which we'll talk about. Reached out to her and said, "Hey, would you like to come on the live show to talk about this?" And I said, "Are you familiar with ActiveCampaign?" What do you think she said?
She said, "Well, I don't want to. I don't know what she said. What did she say, Jason?"
She said, "I'm a customer."
That's fantastic. That's amazing, actually.
Please welcome to the program, Corinna Cunningham. Corinna, how you doing?
Hello. Hi. How you doing?
How was that for an intro?
That was a great intro. That was well set up. I liked it. Good story. Well done.
Corinna, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on. I'm super excited you're here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to hear you have a really interesting backstory on how you got to where you're at, and I think it always falls back for me to man that I never said, well, I can't wait to become a B2B marketer. That never crossed my mind, right? But it seems like we all sort of fall into these roles, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you, before we get into your product and all the cool things you're doing, how did you get to where you're at? Because you have a really interesting background I want you to chat about.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was little, I never grew up. I never was like, I want to be a marketer when I grow up. I wanted to be, an astronaut or a ballerina anyway. So when I was growing up, I was a typical drama nerd. I was a theatre kid. I did all the Saturday classes. I was full on film and theatre geek. We had Blockbuster Video, if anyone remembers that, around the corner from us. And so every Saturday it would be like pestering my parents to go rent the latest movie, play the latest games. Every Saturday class you could put me in, every kind of thing. I was there, and I studied it, and I just loved it. And I studied it at every possible. At school, it was like age 16, I took exams in it, age 18, my GCSEs and A-levels and all that kind of stuff. Did it at university. So it was pretty much film and theatre and drama was my thing, was my background. That is me, basically. And so, yeah, marketing was never anywhere on the horizon, nowhere in the plan. It was very much like, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to write and I'm going to do this and I'm going to be, a bit like that, really. And so studied it at university, then went on to drama school. And then while I was there and while I was studying, and when I came out of drama school and I started working as an actor, I also started, working with other producers, and I was doing everything. I was like, if there was a short play that I could write, I'd write it. If I could do casting in something, if I could be a producer somewhere, and so I'd do everything. And I soon quickly observed that creative people are really, really good at being creative and making their thing. But the minute it's done, no one's actually thought about the marketing or the distribution or what happens next. We're all so focused on like, let's make this amazing thing. And then it comes to like telling people about it. And everyone's like, oh, no, let's just move on to the next thing. And then we forget about it. And I remember just being like, this is so frustrating. We're working so hard on making these plays and films and stuff. No one knows about it. And so, but I didn't know how to fix that. I just remember that was a thing. I was just like, all these creative people, these writers, these filmmakers, these really talented people who could really, if you think about it now, be flipping good at marketing, just didn't want to do it. And so I had that in my head. And then so the turning point came when I was at Edinburgh Festival. I was at Edinburgh Festival and I'd been cast in about 3 shows, and I was like, oh my God, this is Edinburgh Festival. This is so exciting. It's going to be amazing. And I got up there and I was like, wow, there are so many people here. And not only that, there are so many shows. Like I just could not comprehend how many shows there were out there. There are so many stories. And I was just like, how the flip are we going to compete with all of these people? And I remember my director had just come back from a full day of like press junkets, and she'd been speaking to all the press, and they do a whole day where you speak to all the reviewers and all, you just try and sell your show before it's even started. And she came back and she was like, I don't know how I'm going to do, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And so I was just like, well, there's this social media thing that people are doing, and like no one seems to be doing it that much. And shall I just have a go? Shall I just, shall I? And I didn't have a clue.
That's it, huh?
That was it. I didn't have a clue. I was just like, shall I just put some stuff together? Because I've been playing around with it on, personal stuff, and I'd seen bigger brands back then. This was way back in early 2013, 14, and the bigger brands that had the budgets were starting to experiment with it. But this was before monetization. This was before influencers. Instagram was still a baby. Facebook was still pretty. No one had really. It wasn't like it is now. It was still very naive and green, and people were still nice to each other. And so, I was like, well, let's just have a go. And I knew, because I was in the show, and because I knew the show inside out. I'd written part of it. I knew what it was about. I knew the message. I knew what we were trying to communicate. I knew who the show was for. I knew who the audience was. I knew what we were trying to say. I knew what the benefits were. I knew what the features were, and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, instinctively, like, well, it's just talking to people. So let's just talk to people. Let's just use social media and talk to people. And
was that the birth of entertainment marketing? 'Cause I like your approach on this, because I come from the entertainment business, and I feel like the reason that I was successful in the early days of social with B2B at a B2B company was taking that B2C approach to and bringing it to B2B. And I don't think a lot of people got it at the time. I mean, certainly now we're trying to figure out TikTok and Clubhouse, and I don't think we've really mastered LinkedIn or Instagram yet. I mean, Facebook is Facebook, but talk about can you talk a little bit about entertainment marketing, how you approach this? I think it's fascinating how the what you teach and how you teach to approach this.
yeah, well, in my experience, like, it's when I was studying, because when you're studying drama and you're studying Shakespeare, and it gets really kind of technical, and you start seeing how the way we communicate, whether it's entertainment, whether it's in a film or a TV show or in a play, it's exactly the same communication that we're doing in marketing. It's just humans speaking to humans. That's all we're doing. And we dress it up and we turn it into a TV show, we turn it into a film. That's in my opinion, and from my experience, it's no different to putting a short story on Instagram or a Facebook video. You're still doing the same thing. And so for me, I was just like, I could see that. I mean, that's how I did it. I was like, we're just talking to people in one format, and we're just moving it over to a different format. And that's all we're doing. It's not complicated. It's not difficult. And I feel like sometimes that when you get into marketing, and certainly in my experience, that it starts to get heavy with the strategy, and this is how you do it, and you break it down to the funnel and the triangle and the hierarchy of need, and it just gets really like, wow. And it's just like, no, just bring it back to the basics. Humans are really, really good at telling stories. That is how we started, and that's how we're going to continue. We're just telling stories. And for me, it was just like, entertainment marketing is just, I guess, a way of reminding people that you're just entertaining people. You're just telling a story. You're just telling your business story or your personal story. And the social media posts that you share is just a snippet. It's just a scene from your overall story. It's just a beat from your play. It's not. I just wanted people to know that it can be enjoyable and fun, and it's not complicated. And when you start getting into the kind of, like, I don't know, the fakery of it all, I just get really frustrated. I'm like, no, just be a human being. Just be a human being. That's what's gonna work.
It's tough because I think people are afraid to put themselves out there. I mean, there's certainly imposter syndrome, which if you make one wrong move, you could just be destroyed in a second.
Yeah, I have that.
I think I mean that's I mean, I think everyone has that to an extent, but the more you put yourself out there, what I found, the more you put yourself out there, the more you test things, the more you try things, and just give it a shot, and not be mean spirited, of course, not being a contrarian marketing jerk, if you will, but just trying to be helpful. I think the more you get the responses, the more success you get, and the more it rolls into to you wanting to do more. To where I guess you get to a point where you get addicted, where you're doing too much. So maybe there's it's a double-edged sword. Any examples that come to mind of anybody who's taking that sort of entertaining top of funnel approach to social that you like, that stand out?
Well, on social, like, okay, let me try and think. On social, it's very different because it's the stories, the individual stories, rather than, I found anyway, rather than the people, are what has broken through. So like at the moment, like, I'm getting addicted to TikTok. I don't want to be addicted to TikTok, and I can't help it, but it's because it's found its space and telling quick, engaging stories very, very easily. And it's at the moment, I think, it's the brands and it's the companies who understand that it's the story that you're telling with these little snippets is what's going to work. I mean, there are a couple of brands that I think have done it really well. I really love Innocent Smoothies social media presence. Like they're just so quirky. They know that they're kind of weird and they're quirky, and it works for them. And they've gotten it to a point now where, almost to me anyway, their marketing is bigger than their product. Like I don't really go out and buy Innocent Smoothies, but I love talking about them, and I love, like, I do in my emails, I do like a media of the week email, or I try to anyway, about once or twice a week, where I take a piece of media or like a story or something that went viral, and I kind of break it down and turn it into a try and figure out why the story is so good. And Innocent Smoothies are great because they're kind of authentic, in that I can imagine having a mate who sounds like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've had friends at uni who talk like that and sound like that and are just that weird, but they go with it and it works because it's real. And you kind of forget that you're talking to a company, and we know it's a company. We know that there's someone there, or maybe two or three people doing it, but it doesn't really matter because they are a character. They have a character. They're not bland. They have a character. They have their story. They have their wants and needs. Like the other day, I think I saw them in their socials, and like this Innocent Smoothies character just wanted to be lazy and not post anything, and then they told the story of the director wanting them to post something. So it's when accounts don't take themselves too seriously on social. I think there is a place for that, where there are some brands who you just have to, for whatever, their product stuff is, it is serious, and you can't make light of certain things. But I think, especially now because of the pandemic and the way everyone is kind of needing that connection, I think now it's more about just be a person. And if you're a company with loads and loads of people, be a company that people feel like that they can relate to. I think I went off on a tangent here, but I feel like I've gone off on one. But yeah, what was your question? Sorry. I think that was it. Yeah, it just have an account that speaks to people. Don't sell to them every day. It's tiring. We've been on lockdown. Don't.
I think that was a great answer. It was a perfect answer.
Yeah, and some of the things you said there, like the authenticity, the human connection, I think the brands that do really well on social, or at least the ones that stand out to me as well, like I love the Wendy's Twitter account and the Pop-Tarts Twitter account, because like you're saying, it's a little quirky. It's not a brand all the time. They're not afraid to like get into the mentions and actually, respond to people directly. That's a personal interaction that's also kind of entertainment for the rest of us, depending on what the response is. Wendy's can get a little zesty, but that is... it's perceived as a risk a lot of times, abandoning that corporate voice. But it seems to be pretty successful for those big companies. So in your opinion, do you think that like small businesses on social could take more risks, or even outside of social?
I think definitely they can be braver with what they post about. I think there are so many people on social media now. There's so many companies on social media now. It's not like it was when I started. It's busy, it's noisy, it's and people are really struggling to be heard. And it's not because people are doing it better. It's just there are more of them out there. And so I think brands, especially if they're small companies, you can't stand out by posting more or shouting louder or just constantly selling. It's just like being individual and taking a risk and actually being like, okay, this is who we are, this is what we stand for. There might be someone down the road who does exactly the same thing and to an equally high quality, but they maybe stand for something slightly different, or they maybe have different values, and that's going to attract their tribe, and you want to attract your tribe, and that's fine. Because we can't, I think, we would love to be able to have everyone's attention all the time on our business, of course, but I don't think that's realistic nowadays, because there's so much choice, so many people who are good at what they do, all offering kind of the same thing. So you need to stand out by being an individual. And I mean, we do that great as human beings. We're all individual. We all have our own personalities. We have friends who like us because we're weird or we're quirky, whatever, and people who don't like us for the same reasons, and that's fine. And I think the same, if small businesses can be brave enough to embrace that and be like, okay, not everyone's going to love us, but if we stand out the way that we want to stand out, it'll make your social much more authentic, much more real. And there's something quite attractive about a company that says, this is who we are. We don't mind if you don't like us, but this is who we are. And that, to me anyway, when I see a company doing that, I'm like, okay, I don't like their stuff, but I actually just want to hear what they have to say. Like, there's a lot of companies I follow. I don't buy any of their stuff. I don't know what they do, but I just follow them and we'll talk about them, because I think it's more about it. I don't know, I feel like nowadays it's becoming more than just the company. There's a lot more that people, consumers, expect from their companies that they follow now. That's a whole other conversation, I think.
There's a great Twitter thread right now between myself, Doug Kessler, and Ann Hanley talking, and we're talking about, there was a Chinese restaurant that shared this menu, and I'd never seen this before, where the owner was very honest about the menu, and he was like, "Oh, this is delicious. It's blah blah blah. It's made for this." He goes, "This one, to be honest with you, I haven't really had it yet, but seems to be popular on the menu." But it's just this running, and it's this legendary menu, and I wish we could all sort of be that way, right? And obviously, as you mentioned, doesn't work all the time. But when you talk about storytelling, I want to just briefly touch on this before we get into your experience with ActiveCampaign. I hear that all the time. Big brands, small brands, we want to be bolder. We want to take more risks. We want to tell better stories. We want to up-level our storytelling. Yet, when they get the opportunity, it seems like many times the ideas just go through too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen. They get distilled down to something that doesn't, that just loses the original magic. And then we end up talking about the same brands over and over again. It's Nike, it's Red Bull, it's the Zappos and the amazing things that they did. But recently, I've been seeing a lot of interesting, I think, Hiut, which is a jean company, HIUT. And they have this, they have some of the coolest emails I've ever seen. They give you a free book, which is called their Guide to Creativity, what does creativity have to do with jeans? Really nothing, but it pulled me in and now I'm hooked. But there's so many different cool examples of SMBs taking these risks. And it seems like they're winning over the bigger brand. Maybe there's less red tape. Maybe they just pull the trigger a little bit more easy. But with back to storytelling, are we overcomplicating this? Is it? Are we trying to tell this story with a beginning, a middle, an end, a hero, a climax, and big finish when we just need to tell more of an anecdote?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're right. I think with the bigger brands, when there's too many, too many writers in the writer's room, there's too many people trying to get their opinion across, and then they've got a lot of stakeholders who are afraid of going in a certain direction. And in my experience, you'll have some great creatives who have some brilliant ideas, and I've heard it of people being like, I've got this great idea, but the agency doesn't want to run with it, or the client doesn't want to run with it because they're scared, or they don't see how it will work. And it's like,
Story of my life, by the way.
It's just like, we're the storytellers, we're the creators. This is why you're here. You got to listen to them. And I think you don't have to tell the whole story every time you share something. You don't have to tell your origin story in every advert you put out. It's just the best stories have little stories in between them. Like the best films have lots of little stories in between them. They've got their subplots, and then they've got their scenes, or something happens in the opening scene and you want to be like, oh, I want to know what happened to that character. And you have human interaction is not just a beginning, middle, and an end. Like, we've got all this stuff going on in the middle, and telling a story can just be an anecdote or a really interesting conversation that you had that you can then turn into like an ad. It can be an anecdote that took you from one place to another place, and you can spread that out over into lots of little social media posts and like keep your followers hooked across the whole thing. Like, storytelling, yes, there's a certain way to tell a story, but our brains are so tuned into telling stories. It's how we learn to read and write as kids. It's like, my nephew is starting to walk at the moment, and I'm like, I've got to read him a story. And it's just like, stories are kind of, kids understand stories. Anyone can understand stories. So you don't have to overcomplicate it by being this big dramatic hero's journey. It could quite literally be like, you know, you went into the kitchen and you forgot why you were there, and then someone rang you, and then something dramatic happened, and then you finally got your cup of tea, and that'll be fine. And that, you know, and some people might want to hear that, some won't, but it shows off your personality, it shows off who you are, and it'll, you know, people want to know what happens next. And I think it's when people try to overcomplicate it, or get scared, or get worried about what people think. I think, yeah, social media, it can be quite a bit like the Wild West. That's pretty tough out there. You know, people are mean, people are out to get you, but there are people out there who really, really want to hear a real story. And if you're brave enough to tell a story without all the fluff and the floof and the, you know, just tell the flipping story, man. Come on. Yeah.
Corinna,
so I'll be, yeah.
We've got a few more questions for you, but I have a special guest as we get into our next segment. I want to come back. I want to talk about the biggest opportunities for SMBs at the moment. I want to talk about 365, all the ideas and the inspiration that you have that I purchased and I was blown away by that can help fuel these anecdotes. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about your experience with ActiveCampaign very quickly. But we just had a very special guest pop on unannounced, and I'm going to bring him on right now. And please welcome Jay Bear. Oh my God,
how's it going?
Made it to the program.
Corinna, Aaron, Ernie,
Hi.
Jason, nice to see you. Speaking of floof and floff, here I am. Nice intro, Corinna. It was well done.
No worries.
Perfect. I appreciate that. You can do my intro from now on. Delighted to be here, friends. How's it going?
Very, very well. Corinna, do you know Jay?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I've never.
Let's fix that up.
We'll make sure that Jay is kind enough to be part of our big webinar today, and you can still get your tickets. I call them tickets because I like to frame this entertainment. Get your tickets to the show. But Jay, stop by for our next segment. Before we get back to you, please stick around. I want you to play this as well, Corinna. It's called a little game show we invented years ago called Marketer or Rockstar, and it goes something like this. What we do, again, we're animating that. So next week it'll be animated and so much more exciting. Marketer or Rockstar. But so Ernie and I have pulled together a selection of quotes here. Ernie, I'm going to let you start off, but it's a selection of quotes. This is how you play the game. The person with the highest ranking score in this game, there's two people. Actually, Seth Godin almost got all of them correct. And Shannon Brayton, the CMO, the ex-CMO of LinkedIn, she matched Seth Godin. She did very well. But the game is very simple. We've pulled a selection of quotes, and they are from marketers and from rock stars. We basically read the quote, and you tell us whether or not you think it's a marketer or rock star. You can play at home as well during lockdown, wherever you're at. We do have prizes. We will pick for your guesses. Anyone who's guessing in the feed, we will select a winner to get some cool AC swag. Ernie, take it away, my friend.
Okay. Let's start off with one that's a little straightforward here. The quote is this: "Do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends." Who said that? A marketer or a rock star?
I mean, it feels like a rock star to me because it is a business that is rooted in repetitive performances. But I feel like you have that in there to make me think that it is a rock star. So I'm going to say it's a marketer. Because I've met Jason before. I'm going to say marketer.
Corinna, where are you at with this one?
My instinct is telling me that if that was a rock star, they've got to really improve their lyric writing. So I'm going to have to go with marketer, I think.
Well done. It was Walt Disney, who's kind of between the two.
Both.
But I would say more on the lines of marketer. That was the intention there. So +1 to both of you. If I had a little celebratory noise, I would play that right now.
It's coming, all right? It's coming.
Next week.
Here we go. We'll take a note on that.
Next week is going to be animation and xylophone. It's going to be a much better show.
I'll take this next one if you don't mind, Ernie, and then you get the next, and we'll cruise through this because I know Jay, you got to be somewhere. So we're gonna wrap this up quickly. But here's another one for you: marketer or rock star. It's really fun to put yourself in a character into shoes you wouldn't normally be in. Marketer or rock star, Jay?
Character and the shoes you wouldn't normally be in. I think that's a rock star. That feels like a Gene Simmons Insane Clown Posse kind of a quote.
All right, Corinna.
I'm gonna have to agree. Yeah, that sounds like a performer. It sounds like something I would say when I would be really drunk and trying to impress people. I'd be like, put myself in the shoes of a
That'll also be next week. It's gonna be great.
It's just me doing this.
And you would both be correct. That is Billie Eilish. So
there you go. Great.
I mean, I would have like Sex Pistols and Slayer quotes in here. So thank you, Ernie, for bringing in this new millennial generation. That
I just watched Billie Eilish on Hot Ones recently, and she was great.
Nice.
Ernie, you're up. We got a couple more for you.
Okay, third quote. Who said this, marketer or rock star? Activate your fans. Don't just collect them like baseball cards.
Corinna, where are you at with this one?
I'm going to say marketer. Activate your fans doesn't sound like something a rock star would say. I think that quote is way too smart to be a rock star. I don't feel like any rock star hit that threshold. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm gonna say Mark.
Again, happy noise, celebratory noise. That was actually Jay Bear said that.
It was indeed. Thank you, Corinna, for not getting that wrong. I would have had to disavow our friendship, which has only been 45 seconds. So it'd be a harsh ending for sure.
3 for 3. I love this.
Man. So do we now supersede Seth Godin? Is that how this works?
No, no, not yet.
Change my bio.
You're on the track. Next one up. I'll take this one. Discipline. I don't know the meaning of that word. Marketer or rock star?
I want to say rock star, but I would love it if a marketer had said that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is like the first question where it seems so obvious that it would be a rock star that it can't be. I think this is another Jason Miller reverse psychology, deep fake CIA ploy. I'm going to say marketer.
There goes that perfect score right down the drain. That was Liam Gallagher. I think who it's right there.
Well, look, I got cords in the way.
All right, Ernie, you're up. We got a couple more for you, and then we'll let you get back to
Seth
business.
remains triumphant.
Okay, here we go. Marketer or rock star. The person who knows how will always have a job. The person who knows why will always be his boss. Marketer or rock star.
That's got to be
this is a good one.
It's
a very good find, Ernie.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I want to say marketer who acts like a rock star. Does that count?
Touche. No.
It sounds very markety, but it sounds like it comes from someone who has the personality of a rock star.
Yeah, that's a good assessment.
You know what I mean? Like,
it sounds like Chris Penn is what it sounds like to me if I had to pick a person. But the reason I'm going to say marketer is I don't know that many rock stars who use the word boss. Like, I don't know that they think about org charts in the same way. So I'm going to say marketer. I'm probably wrong.
It is, in fact, a rock star. And if I might quote the rock star, you ought to know, that was Alanis Morissette.
So now we're going to go with marketer, rock star, or Canadian, which adds a whole different level to this game.
That's knowledge I don't have.
It's three-dimensional chess.
A new circle to the Venn diagram.
That's a whole other thing.
This next one is Bryan Adams. I don't even need another quote.
I think we got time for one more, and we'll let you go. Just to
Bare Naked Ladies.
Redeem yourself. What's that?
Bare Naked Ladies. I'm just going to keep naming Canadian rock acts until we go. It's
Our
Rush.
Lady Peace.
Rush,
Our Lady
right?
Peace.
It's
Rush. Our Lady Peace. Where's Mitch Joel when you need him, right?
Exactly.
All right. So I'm gonna. This is a gift to end on a strong note because there's no way you're gonna catch the lead board. Sorry. Which we have a couple here. I think I'm gonna go with you got to get this one. Don't settle. Don't finish crappy books. If you don't like the menu, leave the restaurant. If you're not on the right path, get off it. Marketer or rock star. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Could you repeat that, please?
I certainly
Could you
can.
use it in a sentence, please?
I can certainly can.
Country of origin, please.
U.S. East Coast. Don't settle. Don't finish crappy books. If you don't like the menu, leave the restaurant. If you're not on the right path, get off it.
I'm gonna throw caution to the wind and just go with Rockstar because
That sounds like a Derek Sivers quote to me, so I'm going to say marketer.
Ernie.
It is, in fact, a marketer. It was Chris Brogan, though it was spoken with like the attitude of a rock star. So
yes. Apropos.
Awesome.
I feel pretty good about that.
I think you guys did pretty good. You got 3 out of something. I stopped counting when the
perfect streak was crushed. I understand.
Anyway, Jay, I know you're a busy man. Thank you.
Yep.
For
See you later.
by.
Everybody, come to the webinar in whatever it is, 45 minutes or whatever. It's going to be awesome, or an hour 15, or I don't know, whatever time it is in your place. It's going to be great.
What are you going to be talking about, Jay?
We're going to be talking about how this is 2021, quite literally, the greatest opportunity you will ever have to grow your business. And I mean that sincerely. We're going to talk about exactly how to do it, why to do it, and how 2021 can be the best year of your entire business career. All that in just 45 minutes. Join us then.
Jay, you are the man. I'll see you shortly. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Great, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Always a pleasure, my friend. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
How about that? Special guest in the house, Jay Bear. I never got confirmation. I just kind of pinged him and said, "Hey, man, if you're around." So that was a nice little surprise there. But back to our show, Corinna. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks.
Nice. I think you did fairly well. I was surprised, Ernie. I was really surprised by the amount of thought and the tension that was happening. And I was like, just rattled off, but they were really trying. Really, they were analyzing these deeper than I ever anticipated.
Right, you just gotta show that you kind of know what you're talking about.
The reverse psychology thought is definitely real. When I played, you did much better than I did, Corinna. I think I got 2 out of 10. So yeah, it's tough.
A couple more questions for you, Corinna, if you have a few minutes. Are you good?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I want to talk about the 365 days or 365 social media program that I purchased. And I tell you what, I think one of the biggest sort of barriers to all the things we talked about on the show for SMBs, for big brands, for everybody is, where do I get the ideas? Where do I get the trigger for that story or that anecdote? How do I know when to put it out there? But the biggest thing is, where do I get these ideas from? You put together this program, and it literally is 365 ideas. I was scrolling through this, and I'm going, "Oh my God, I'm gonna steal this. I'm gonna steal this." But it's okay because you want us to steal this ideas, right?
Please.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
The 365 ideas was. It took a while. It was hard to come up with that. It was just as I was starting up my business, it was just what can I put out there that's quick, that's easy, that people can take away. And it was just this kind of combination of, well, I know social media and I know film and theatre, and let's just kind of take what I know best and just put it into something. And so 365 ideas, initially it was just going to be 365 prompts. But as I went through it, and I started running out of ideas myself, and I was just like, oh my God, what have I set myself up for? Am I crazy? It was just trying to come up, how do I come up with these ideas? And I was just started thinking about, what is it about entertainment that keeps people coming back? What is it about a TV show or a play or a film or a book or a game that makes people want to keep coming back to that TV show or film or whatever? And so that kind of kept me going with okay, well, we watch TV shows because we want to know about the characters, we want to know what the characters are thinking. And so some of the prompts were okay, well, share. It was a prompt, it was what are you thinking about this? How has your day been? What dramatic thing happened? And so that kind of spurred on my ideas. I mean, people's ideas for content can literally come from anywhere. It can come from your daily life. A lot of my emails that I send come from what's happened to me in the day or in the last couple of weeks, or just a story, and I'm using that to communicate the value that I can give. And it's just ideas from plays. You saw a play where 2 people were arguing with each other and someone fell off the stage, for example, you know, and that can be a prompt for the time, you know, I fell into whatever, and you can just kind of manipulate it and turn it into your own story. I think it came about from just thinking about what entertains me, what keeps me interested, and just turning them into prompts that hopefully people can use themselves, and they can adapt it in any way they want. They don't have to stick exactly to the prompts that I put down there. And I get that some people still struggle with that a little bit. I still get people who are like, yeah, but I'm not, you know, I'm not a consultant. It doesn't matter if you're not a consultant or a freelancer. Anyone can use these prompts, because it's just taking real life human moments that other people are interested in, sharing your thoughts, sharing your expertise, share your vulnerabilities, share your fears. These are all the reasons we watch film and TV shows, is to see our heroes struggle, because then we can see ourselves in them and realize that we're not alone. And that's all consumers want from when they're kind of buying your stuff. They want to know that, you know, there's someone out there like me who's going through the same stuff as me and who can help me. And so I put together that with that in mind, and then the videos to just help explain that a little bit further, because I do I do forget sometimes. I'm like, oh, this is how you do it, it's fine, go. And then people are like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I've had to make sure that I've put in the videos to explain how, you know, if you're not a marketer, if you're, you know, if you're a business owner who just has to do their own marketing, it's there to kind of explain and help you guys put it into action. But it's just about, you know, taking what is interesting about you, so your life, your experiences, your fears, what you find funny, what's happening in your life, and just putting it out there so you stand out from all the other people, because everyone will have different experiences. You know, I think I said in the course, like, you know, you could be an author of a book, or you could be selling insurance, and you can take the same prompt and come up with completely different posts. You know, you don't want to be copying and pasting other people's stuff. That's just boring. And there's enough copied and pasted stuff on the internet right now. We don't need more. So just like, you know, put your own personality onto it. And that's just kind of, I want to be able to give people the tools and the knowledge and the confidence to be able to do their own social media, so they don't have to keep coming back and asking for help. Like, that was my goal with this mini course. It was like, here are the ideas, here's how I came up with the ideas, here's how you do it, and the next time you have an idea, you know how to do it. And it's just, you know, hopefully giving people the knowledge and the tools to then just do it themselves, so then they can actually focus on what they really want to be doing, which is growing their business, or, you know, supporting their family, or whatever it is.
Right.
Did I answer your question? I can't remember.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love what you said there about just like getting on there and being honest about, you know, what it is that you're feeling. That authenticity, again, that's what connects with people, and that's what resonates with people. But I'm curious here, if we could kind of transition into to ActiveCampaign a little bit. Would you mind telling the story about how did you find ActiveCampaign? Were there specific problems you were looking to solve, or can you kind of take us through that journey?
With ActiveCampaign, to be honest, it was someone just said, they're great, use them, basically.
Nice.
We'll take it.
It was just, you know, I was just starting up my business, and I partnered with a company who were really good at helping with entrepreneurs and setting stuff up for me. And they were like, you know, you need to set up emails and stuff like this. And I was like, how do I do that? And they were like, it's great, just, you know, get with ActiveCampaign, set up for you, go. And I was just like, okay. And just went with it. And they were right. You know, I've been using it since I started my business. It's self-explanatory to me anyway. It's self-explanatory. Like, I can see everything, I can see the reports, and it's great. And I'm a happy customer, so you don't need to worry.
What was the initial problem that you were trying to solve when you were? I mean, was it? So I walked through your program. You have a pretty sophisticated funnel, and the offers, like it just seems to work really well. How much of that is automated, by the way?
The email system. So I think the welcome sequences and the kind of follow-ups are all automated, but then after that you're getting onto my master list and you're hearing from me. So, you know, once you start getting the emails that where I swear a little bit more, and I have a little asides and random photos, and, you know, that's me. But I mean, yeah, they were really great at helping to set up, because, you know, I knew I needed to grow a business. I had social media to offer. I just didn't know what to do. And so this company were great. They would just help me with a funnel. They helped me set up the email system. And they were just like, you know, you need to be email marketing. And for me, having been only in social media, I was like, oh God, I need to know another what? I have to learn more stuff. And then I was like, I don't want to learn more. And then actually, you know, once it was all set up and once all the automations were going, and it was great. It was just like doing a post almost, except in an email and just longer. And
That's really it's interesting. I mean, we talk a lot about this sort of how do you find that balance between you know, the automation and the human touch, and it seems like you've got a good formula where the the welcome series is automated, but the personal touch comes from your stories. And I'm on your list. I think it sounds like it's almost like you're writing me a letter, which is really interesting. So I like that approach. You touched on something else. And we pride ourselves in being easy to set up. And I set up ActiveCampaign on my own site when I first started the company. I had my first automation set up in 15 minutes, right? But you asked, you had someone help you out and do it, and who was that? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So it was a company, awesome company called the No Pants Project, and they help entrepreneurs and consultants set up their just how to be a freelancer and how to set yourself up. And so last year they had an offer on where they were like, you know, if we can work together, we'll set you up with a funnel, we'll set you up with a website, we'll do everything for you, and we'll get you running. And I was at that point where I was like, well, I've been freelancing now. I need to be a grown-up now and to just have a business and do what everyone else is doing. And so I partnered with them, and they were great, and they were fantastic at helping me out. And I think Erin Marshall, I think, was the woman who helped me set up. She was great. She, you know, and it was just so great to just have it all set up and ready to go. So when they kind of were finished and kind of left me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm on my own, that it was just like, you know, I'm still running with ActiveCampaign. I don't need any help with it. I'm happy with, you know, it's doing everything I need it to do. The automations are still going. The only thing that I need to be responsible for is that kind of daily chatting with you and letting you know about my products and seeing how you're doing. But it was just, yeah. And, you know, I started my business just as the pandemic hit. So I was just like, oh my God, how is this going to work now that everything's on lockdown? And thankfully, I've learned that, you know, consistency and having an email list and having your social presence and just consistently kind of checking in with your customers, no matter how you do it, if you post once a day or don't post 10 times a day, that's just weird. But like, you know, just doing stuff regularly and checking in is kind of the way I found works for me.
That's really cool. I mean, it brings up a really good point about creators. If you don't want to mess with the technical aspect, which it's easy to do, but if you don't even want to take the time to do it, you can have someone set this up for you. Then you just plug in your content and go.
Yeah, I was so glad. I was like, oh my God, someone else could do it for me. Brilliant. Do it. I just, I'm the creative person. I don't want to do the tech stuff. I just want to let someone else do it and just, you know, get on with the stories.
What's next for the business? What's coming up? What are you excited about?
Next is, well, I would love to start taking on some clients. So I haven't been able to take on clients this year for personal reasons and just lockdown and stuff. And so I would love this year to be able to start working one-on-one with clients, but also just growing the business a bit more, just making it bigger, offering more. Maybe, you know, I would love to get to a point where I could just hire some people to be doing stuff with me, because it's quite hard doing everything on your own. It's a little bit scary. So I'd love to just do more, help more clients, and just to be, you know, getting to a stronger place and you know, doing talks like this. I would love to do more talks like this. This would be great. So much. I just get to chat. It's so much fun. I'd love to do more of these as well.
Casual conversation. We like to keep it casual and fun. Well, I am impressed by your copywriting, your messaging, your storytelling, the email flow, the welcome series, everything. It was really, really impressive. So well done there. Last question I have for you, and then I'll turn it back to Ernie to see if he's got anything. But one of our core values at ActiveCampaign that we talk about quite a bit is creating wow. And what that means for us is don't just meet customer expectations, but exceed them, right? So how do you kind of think about creating wow for your clients or your audience?
How do I create wow?
What's the we were talking about in the beginning of the show? What's that extra dump of fries in the bag?
My extra dump of fries is probably, I think, just showing people that I am just like them. Like, I'm not gonna, in my emails and in my content, I'm not gonna pretend to know everything and to have all the answers. And I don't, and I'm still learning, and I'm still guiding. You know, I have expertise in certain things, but in other things I don't, and I'm still learning. And I'm, for me, I think that is the human connection that I want to give people, is that I'm a human being just like you. I freak out about things just like you. I may know some things, but you may know other things. And you know, together we can come up with something great that will grow your business. And that's why I've got kind of, you know, I've got a subscription as well, where I talk more in depth and have more coaching calls directly with customers to help them a bit more, where I can actually speak to them and be like, okay, what are you good at? Let's grow with that. This is what I can do. And just kind of showing people that I'm not a brand, that I'm a person who just happens to sell some stuff, which I hope helps, which then will then get bigger, hopefully, maybe, possibly. But that's my dump of fries. I think just be me, just be a dump of fries. I'm putting that in an email. Can I put that in an email? Maybe
I don't know where it sounds weird.
It's great.
I don't know where that dump of fries. This is gonna haunt me now.
What's your dump of fries? I like that.
mean, I love it. I think that, I mean, maybe scoop of fries might be a little more pleasing to the ears, but
that's what I meant to say.
Who, you know, whatever works. But honestly, that answer, I think that's the perfect place to leave it. Is just creating wow through being authentic, through being you, through being honest, and putting things, you know, up front for people to see. You know, not everyone's perfect. People have fears, they have doubts, they have, you know, feel like an imposter, and that is, you know, unfortunately, honesty and authenticity seem to be a valuable commodity in today's world. So I appreciate you know, saying all that and being as honest and authentic as you are. And I think that that's a big part of, you know, why you are in the place that you're at. So yeah.
It's absolutely terrifying, but yeah, I just keep doing it. It's absolutely scary. But,
vulnerability. So yeah,
vulnerability. Just go with it. We're all the same, basically.
Corinna, thank you so much for being on the show. Anything you want to add before we go? We got about 30 seconds left. Just
want to say thanks very much for having me and for sending me that email that absolutely terrified me, but invited me onto this chat. I've really enjoyed it. And I hope, you know, if there's anyone out there who wants to get in touch, I would love to hear from anyone and just to hear more of what's going on.
And where can they find you?
I'm at Corinna, it's just going across the bottom of the thingy there now, CorinnaCunningham.com, or you can email me info@CorinnaCunningham.com, or I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I forgot my own tags, but there we go. I'm somewhere on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me. I've actually gone blank on my own things, but there we go. info@CorinnaCunningham.com.
There you go.
I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can find me there.
Human.
I'm a human.
All right, awesome. Well, again, Corinna, thank you so much for your time. I do want to say that next week we'll be back at our regular scheduled time with comedian Tim Washer. Can you believe I got Tim Washer on the show? He's a legend. He's written for SNL. He's written for John Oliver. He's worked at some massive companies. He's done some amazing campaigns. He's a good friend. He's funny as hell. And he's going to talk about improv, bringing humor into marketing. So, Corinna, hopefully we'll see you again, and have a great day. I'm working on the sign-off video too. We don't have that yet, but it's coming. It's coming. It's all coming together.
But if we had one, it would go here.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Cheers. And thanks for joining.
Thank you.